Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started here in about a minute, maybe two. Let some of the stragglers kind of filter in. If I could just get a reaction just at either the top or the bottom of your screen with a thumbs up if you can hear me. The reason I ask for a reaction is because we have muted and turned everyone's video off. Thanks everyone for the thumbs up. We do that not so that we silence people, but more to reduce the amount of interruptions and also keep the bandwidth pretty stable. So I've even told my wife, please don't go on Instagram tonight and don't be streaming Survivor or whatever she's watching tonight. So we should be good to go. A couple of housekeeping kind of notes for everyone. If you can put all of your questions in through the chat function rather than the Q&A and or the chat, it just helps to keep it clean and also ensures that everyone else can listen to the answers as well. I've got Kim Kerr riding shotgun tonight, so she's going to be answering lots of the questions in the chat and helping to make sure that things go smoothly and keep ticking along. So Kim is one of our league coordinators and potentially the second or third most tenured person at CMSA now. So Kim has basically done 17 roles and is the glue that keeps it together. Sorry, Kim, what were you going to say?
I said probably 8 years this month. So
exactly, yeah. Kim's a wily veteran at this point. So if trust me, if I don't know the answer, Kim will certainly know the answer. And the other piece is while I'm presenting, it's really hard for me to pay attention to the chat as well based on the screens that I have. So Kim helps to support with that as well, and we'll know all of the answers to the questions as they come up. Where are we at? 30 odd people. You know what? We're gonna get rolling. So what we are going to do, recording is started. So once again, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Tonight is the U10 U11 Town Hall for the Outdoor 2026 season on April 21st of 2026. And I would be remiss if I did not thank our sponsors. Papa John's has generously stepped up with the U10 division and sponsoring that division, and Cal Tire has stepped up in a big way as well to sponsor the U11 division. You'll also see them either as tournament sponsors or other pieces as we work through tonight. So if you have a chance, right, this is the plug for Papa John's. Use the code, all caps, CMSA20, and you get 20% off of your pizza order. And it helps also, of course, build our case to renew the sponsorship. So please, if you're going to order pizza, Friday nights come in, hit up Papa John's and use that discount code. And yeah, away we go. So for tonight, obviously, we want to welcome everyone, and we want to also acknowledge the land upon which we're gathering and having a conversation on tonight. And in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Kainai nations, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. Our mission and vision, if you're brand new here and you've maybe never heard this before, the mission statement's undergone a bit of a revamp and a refresh here as the new strategic plan has been written. But CMSA is dedicated to leading the development, organization, and promotion of soccer opportunities that enable all participants to reach their full potential in a safe, meaningful, and inclusive environment. And our vision really is about elevating and uniting our community through soccer. And as you'll see tonight, we're going to have a tremendous opportunity this year with hosting the FIFA Men's World Cup to really elevate and unite all of our community. Our values are around leadership, stewardship, integrity, excellence, and communication. So tonight, you should see all of those in play. I'll be leading through a discussion, and I want it to be a discussion and conversation, so it's not just a one-sided presentation. We act fiscally responsible, and we're accountable to good business practices and accountable to you all and our clubs as members. We are honest and ethical, and we will operate in a transparent manner. So if you ask a question tonight, you will get the honest, full answer tonight, and there won't be any hiding behind any sort of agendas or anything like that. We hope that this is a great presentation, barring any sort of technical difficulties, so fingers crossed there. And again, we want to communicate, but communication goes in two ways. So we'll listen and we'll also speak tonight. And hopefully we can pass along some information to everyone. So I've already introduced Kim Kerr a little bit on the call. Kim Kerr is one of our league coordinators and a wealth of experience and a ton of knowledge, and someone who puts in, I would probably argue, more hours into the game in this city than anyone else I have ever met. She is literally the straw that stirs the drink, and is someone who, honestly, the work that we've been able to accomplish over the last 5 or 6 years, we couldn't have done half of it without Kim. So Kim is there monitoring the chat and helping to support tonight in the background. Who am I? Well, my name's Jordan Stewart. I'm the CMSA Technical Manager, and some of my background and experience, I come from a bit of a playing and coaching background. I've coached players all the way from U4, where really it's about herding kittens. I'm sure you've seen that. All the way through to the university ages of players. Previous to CMSA, I've worked with Alberta Soccer as their regional coach for Southern Alberta and the Alberta Recs director, where predominantly my portfolio revolved around player development, district outreach, so supporting the districts in Alberta here, and around coach education. I've got experience working all the way through the entire system outside of men's and women's first team professional football here in Alberta, and I'm able to probably have a conversation with anyone at this point about the game here. As you can see, top to bottom, left to right, I've pretty well covered it so far. I want to make sure that we provide some context and a bit of a framework for everyone here tonight, and we want to look back through a short video here and really celebrate where we've come from and how we've built some tremendous momentum going forward into 2026 and into this outdoor season. So please sit back, enjoy this year in review video from the last year, and I will see you in just a moment.
For each player, every season begins the same way. A ball, a field, a dream. But what is built here goes beyond a single game. Every pass, every drill, every moment of effort, it's momentum. Momentum that pushes youth forward, that shapes who they are, that builds the player on the field and the person beyond it. From the youngest learning the basics to the oldest leading by example, there is opportunity here that builds momentum beyond the game. Our impact is measured not just in numbers, but in the lives we touch. Teams form families. Coaches become mentors. Players grow into leaders. Referees build confidence. And a community comes together, united by the love of the game. Momentum isn't just what happens on the field. It's the doors we open, the barriers we remove, and the belief that every child deserves a place to play. As we look ahead, we carry that energy with us, because what we're doing today sets the stage for tomorrow. The effort, the teamwork, the passion. It all builds momentum for what's next. This is more than indoor and outdoor soccer. It's the start of something bigger. We're building tomorrow. One moment, one opportunity, one game at a time.
So that's really what we feel we've got now. We've got tremendous momentum for tomorrow, and we've got tremendous amounts of weight behind us in a lot of pieces. And I want to talk briefly about some of those pieces here in a moment. But really at the center of all of this for us is the player. And so this is what their pathway looks like through Canada Soccer. Okay? It looks like a daunting image, but I'm going to work through it with you here for a moment. So a lot of your children likely started out in these kinds of ages. Your stage 1, 2, and 3 of a long-term player development stage through active start, fundamentals, and now we're looking to get into this area here, learn to train. As they work through, they'll work up into either competitive or community levels, or potentially into developmental leagues, which I'll speak about shortly. And so who operates where within all of this? Well, CMSA will operate at 1, 2, and 3 and stage 7. Now you're probably wondering, well, wait a minute, he's missed a few numbers there. And you're correct. The APDL is run by Alberta Soccer, and that would be our standards-based development league here in the province. Players from there, or even from these Soccer for Life competitors, will flow into professional academies run by the Whitecaps, the Wild, and Cavalry, and flow up potentially in through the ranks of all of those, including youth national teams, into hopefully senior professional football with the first teams here from an MLS, an NSL, and a CPL lens, and then also potentially into our senior national team. You'll see here, train to win. That win is only located in this top right box. That's the only time we actually really care about winning. Maybe as well with some CONCACAF qualifiers here, right? And getting into Youth World Cups. But outside of that, we're not that bothered about winning, and we shouldn't be. Because hopefully if we do our job right and we put development first, we'll have players flow up here as well into the Alberta Premier League, formerly League One, into USL, UWS, NCAA Div 1, college, university levels, all available here in Calgary. What a beautiful city to grow up in the game. You've got so many options. And hey, if that doesn't work for you, no problem. Well, there's vibrant men's and women's and co-ed leagues that are both competitive and community-oriented. And those are run by Calgary Women's Soccer Association and Calgary United Soccer Association that you'll see on your screen. So as you can see, these little arrows help people to distinguish flowing through, right, left and right, from a player's journey, or potentially up. It's pretty tough to Benjamin Button and build the time machine and go back down this way. Usually when you go back down this way, it's from a coaching lens or an administrative lens. And so what sort of frameworks are guiding the work that we produce, and ideally the work that our club should be producing as well? And it really goes back to 2008, 2009 when long-term player development, or if you're familiar with other sports, long-term athlete development was launched. And since then, that has gone through a refresh to become the Canada Soccer Grassroots Standards. And this is really the framework of which we measure our own programming against, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But there are guiding frameworks and documents that are helping us, and there's also guiding frameworks and documents that are helping our clubs. And part of that is the CMSA Program Handbook, and we release this every single year to the clubs, where we say this is what the outdoor season is going to look like so that they can open up their registration packages. And I would ask you to go and compare what the registration package was that you signed up for against this. And this is located on our website. It's freely available at any time. And I want you to ask yourself, is it accurate and is it aligned? Are there U9 select super teams? Is there Dev Plus within the really young age groups? What do the fees look like? What are the training schedules? Does it actually align to the grassroots standards and to the CMSA Program Handbook? You'll get your eyes opened a little bit, but there'll be more to come on that. And so part of the other guiding frameworks that we're looking to have here in this country and here locally in Calgary is around club licensing. And club licensing is a set of standards and really principles as well that the clubs have to abide by. And we're really proud of all of the clubs here in Calgary who have all attained a license through Canada Soccer. And I want you to picture it not as levels of licensing, but as stages of licensing. And some clubs are at a different stage than others. Some clubs are at a National Youth Club license, and some clubs are at an SQS stage, not level. And so what a National Youth Club license is this about 140 odd criteria that those clubs need to be adhering to. With the SQS, it's about 37. So it's a smaller number of criteria, but there's going to be an encouragement put through to move some of these clubs through other stages of licensing as well. National Youth Club license holders get access to the Player Development Program, which is really the Alberta Player Development League here in Alberta. And that was that development league that I spoke about earlier, as well as MLS homegrown player status for the male players. There's also more checkups and audits done within those clubs, and they have to submit biannual action plans to be keeping their license and maintaining that. So it's significantly more work and more stringent from a governance and operations, a financial, a technical, and an administrative lens to be a National Youth Club license holder. Before we kick off as well, and I need to frame some of the conversation, a lot of the questions that get submitted to us are around these pieces. So we hear lots, when do we get the schedule? When do we get our practice schedule? To be honest with you, we don't control any of the practices. What we do at CMSA is we organize all the matches in your season schedule. And I'll talk later about how we do that scheduling and how Kim and Laura go through an insane amount of work in a couple of weeks to produce an absolute monster schedule. You'll see here, your club organizes your child's team practices and training sessions, okay? So if you haven't got that schedule, you need to reach out to your club, not CMSA. How do we place the certain groups of players and teams in the different leagues? Well, we work collaboratively with the member clubs to put all teams in the most fitting division, and I'll talk about how we do that here in a moment. The club places your child onto a team or within a group in the club, okay? We have nothing to do with where your child is placed. CMSA puts the coaches through formal coach training from a practical on-field lens. And really it's your club's job to find, retain, and here's the key piece, develop its coaches. If you are a coach on the call tonight and you are receiving absolutely no mentorship, no development time, I would be asking some serious questions. Do not take receiving a session plan or a curriculum as support. That is not acceptable. Your club needs to be helping you develop, not attend courses, develop on the grass. In terms of jerseys, we get this question a lot as well. We provide the U7 to 9s with the Shane Holmes jerseys for the clubs who order them. Your club orders all the jerseys for the players from the U10 to U19 league. So they supply all of those. Okay, so if you haven't got jerseys, you don't have a practice schedule, you don't know what team you're on, you got to harass your club. And if you have to harass the club, you should probably look for potentially a different club. So we talked about that club licensing piece, and the club licensing piece then affects other bits, not just the club and how it operates, but it also implements minimum coaching standards. And so for the context of tonight, we're talking about the modified safe sport roster requirements. And I'm using very deliberate language, so you can go back and Google this and do some research if you want yourself. That's in place for the U3 to U11 divisions, and a full safe sport roster is for U12 plus. So if I'm a coach right now in U11 and I'm planning on coaching in U12 as well, this is really vital info for me to be tuning into so that I can start chipping away at some of this educational requirements ahead of the indoor season. And so what is it? Well, what it is we've got a police clearance with vulnerable sector search. We ask the coaches to complete Respect in Sport activity leader that addresses bullying, abuse, harassment, and discrimination. And then we ask them to complete the theory portion of the Canada Soccer Coach Education. The ones who are really keen, and what we find, the better coaches and also the ones who have better player retention numbers, typically will be completing the practical that gives them hands-on tools to be running sessions more effectively. Then the full Safe Sport roster kicks in around MED, which is now all online, NCCP making headway, which has undergone a massive refresh that I'll talk about in a moment, NCCP emergency action planning, and understanding the rule of two. So as you can see, the requirements get more and more as we keep coaching, as they should, because we've developed, along with our clubs, we built this with them. Where was the line between the modified and the full Safe Sport roster? Well, previously in CMSA, before the club licensing and before minimum standards came in, this is what we asked coaches to do. We asked them to do their police clearance and Respect in Sport. That was it. You'll see here that it's incrementally more. And this is incrementally more from pre 5 or 6 years ago. Okay? Where the theory is required and the highly recommended is the practical for these age groups. So we're not asking for a ton, but we are asking for a little. Okay? If you are a coach and you're interested in some of those practical dates, these are the ones that you want to key in on for tonight. Okay? So as you can see, some of them are coming up really, really quickly in terms of April 24th and mid-May. We try to run these on a regular basis. Okay? Again, highly recommended you work with a professional coach and a learning facilitator who's going to give you lots of tools to then go back and enhance your training sessions and make them even better. And so why is this important? Well, CMSA has a duty to monitor. We are no longer accepting one person being put on all of the rosters of a club that has satisfied the requirements. So your technical director or someone in your club is then on every single roster. No. We know that that person cannot be at 75 games a week. It's impossible. So we expect every coach to be doing this because our players and our children deserve the best possible experience that they possibly can. It's no longer acceptable to just show up, put out some cones, and hope for the best. There's also a piece on the club, and that they need to be held accountable to do what's right and not what is easy. And their willingness to adhere to basic standards, and these are very basic standards, are going to determine their longevity in the game here. So it's not a threat. It's not a threat. It's a reality. Okay? We do produce additional coaching resources in the form of the Technical Culture series. I would encourage you to go on our YouTube and watch those. There's some phenomenal information within those, both from a coach's and a parent's lens. And I highlight this one here, the session that we did with Chris McKegg when he was an agent, in terms of preparing parents and players for dealing with agents. The game is becoming increasingly global and increasingly professionalized, and you need to know what the regulations are. So I would encourage you to find that on our YouTube and watch it. Watch it with your child. It explains why you can't actually go and sign a professional contract outside of CONCACAF until you're 18 years old. CONCACAF is the region of North and Central America. So for all of you parents who are getting pressured into some sort of ridiculous trial, it's not a trial in Spain or Germany or Austria or Romania or Brazil. This is soccer tourism, and trust me, someone is cashing in on you. Yeah, it's an experience for your child, it's great, it's this and that. It's not a trial. Don't call it a trial. Because the clubs can't sign you anyway unless you and your family moves over to that country for non-footballing reasons, and then you can look to join their program and their academy. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it turned around. Please watch that one. That one's a vital one, especially as you look to now start entering U12, 13, 14, etc. As you can see, there's many other pieces, and I want to highlight this. Canada Soccer is currently offering a female-only children's diploma. And this is a phenomenal opportunity to get the cost of that course waived, plus a $500 travel voucher for any women that might be on the call that are operating these programs from U13 or below. It is a phenomenal course. It is a phenomenal course, and so good that countries are now turning to Canada and asking about our coach education system and courses now, not the other way around. So it's gone through a massive overhaul, and it is genuinely CONCACAF leading, if not becoming world class within that space. And lastly, Making Headway has undergone a refresh, and it's led by Dr. Catherine Schneider, who is a local Calgarian at the University of Calgary, who wrote the International Consensus Statement on concussions. So she's led that, and she's also helping us to revise our concussion policy as we speak. To try and frame this as well, we also have codes of conduct for our coaches. Okay? You can find this on our website. You can find this in our rules. I'm not going to read through all of this. Or you can find this video on YouTube later, and you can hit pause and refresh your mind on that, okay? I said that I was going to speak about how CMSA does the schedule, okay? So here are the steps that we go through, and I apologize that it's a little blurry. It's an image that we've used before. So what happens? Well, all of the clubs put their teams in. So that happens right at the end of March this year. So they say, we're going to have 6 girls teams and 10 boys teams and this and that at all of the ages and divisions that are offered. Then what we do is we bring them all in. We literally sit them all down in a room, and we go through each division and each grouping one by one. And we say, are your groups of players and your teams actually going to have meaningful competition against the rest of the teams in there? And it's their opportunity to hold each other accountable, because we constantly get feedback from parents that they want closer games, more meaningful games, more competitive leagues, etc. So what we've done is we've squeezed some of those leagues. We've said we're no longer going to have 26 team tiers. That's going to become 15. And we've had to make really hard decisions with the clubs on who is ending up where. But it's also allowed us a great opportunity. It's allowed us a great opportunity to really get groups of players tighter together in an effort to have more meaningful competition. And so you're probably wondering this year around the U10s and U11s, around the names of the divisions. What do you mean I'm not a U10 Dev Plus Group 1? You're right. Because the 1, 2s, and 3s don't mean anything. They don't mean anything because we've got open rosters. Because we've got kids that are newly entering the game, that we've got kids that are, 7 years old in terms of a soccer age, or 8 years old in this same division of kids that are brand new. And this is a really tricky stage of development to try to get right. So we leave it very open for the clubs. And I'll talk about the open roster piece in a little bit here. What we then do is we finalize all of the divisions from essentially the U10s straight through to the U19s. We send it back to the clubs and we say, right, what have we missed? Where have we maybe forgotten a team, or you've not entered a team, or let's get it right. And then Kim and Laura literally lock themselves away in a room for about 2.5 weeks. And we compare all of those teams and divisions with the field permits that we have. And the field permits are never consistent from the city. So we might have one field on a Wednesday night, and we don't have it for the next 3 Wednesday nights. So some of you are probably wondering, well, we've gotten our schedule. Why can't we just play Tuesday nights and then it aligns everything really, really simply? Because we just don't have that field availability. Because the city works on historical bookings and certain processes that sometimes limit and constrain our ability to give a really hard and fast and consistent schedule. We would want nothing more than to say, the U10 girls hunter group plays every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. And to be able to tell you that when you're going to register. But for us to be able to do that at this point, it means capping a lot of divisions. And it means saying, no, these kids can't play. because we have this field time and you want consistency and certainty, that's what you get. We choose to be open and inclusive and allow as many kids to play as possible. And with that comes some give and take. Kim and Laura then build the schedule painstakingly. Everyone thinks, well, why don't you just dump it into ChatGPT and hit a button and it produces it for you? It's not that simple. We wish it was, but the technology's not quite there yet. And then they manipulate it by hand as best they can to look at home and aways, to look at where the travel is for these teams, to really be conscious about that. And listen, it's not going to be perfect. You saw in the video earlier, there's almost 15,000 games scheduled every single year. If we get that 99% correct, there's still a massive amount of games that are still, by our members and the club's eyes, incorrect. We ask for some empathy and some understanding, because operating at this scale, scheduling about 6,000-ish games a season, is no small task. Then what happens? Well, the schedule gets produced and then the phones ring off the hook and the emails go crazy that everyone needs to reschedule all of these games because they're attending some outlandish tournament in wherever. Well, the realities is there's constraints around the season. The constraints are that we need to get the season in a certain amount of weeks. The constraints are that we only have a certain amount of field time. Like, there's so many constraints. So sometimes you'll be told, no, I'm sorry, that game can't be rescheduled. But there's also a rescheduling process that's found on our website, and I'm sure Kim can link it if people have questions about that in the chat. Then obviously you do it all again every single season. So a key piece there. Some clubs might not have given you your training schedule yet. Probably because they were waiting for what the game schedule looked like, so then they can plot it and give you some certainty of what your summer is going to look like. This is not an easy puzzle to put together every year, and so please be patient, be understanding, and have some empathy with everyone involved in this kind of operational procedure. And so kind of on that, some of the conduct expectations are that we're good people. And we've got questions of how do we support young referees? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But really, everyone on this call, all 45 people, 48 people that we've had so far, you're going to set the standard of what's acceptable and not acceptable. Because if you want to just wrestle with pigs in the mud, well, the pig loves it, and you just get covered in you know what. So it's up to us to set what's acceptable and to also squash bad behaviors when we see them. We expect people to be respectful. We expect people to be supportive. And we expect people as adults to recognize when they're feeling a bit angry to stay quiet and go for a walk rather than lashing out at a coach or another adult or a child that's on the field. We set the cultural climate. We are the ones in charge of that. And we can do a phenomenal job here. Or we can let it slip through our hands. So it's your choice if you're on this call tonight. And as parents, you've got a little code of conduct. If there's players on the call, you've got a code of conduct. We take this seriously. Okay? These are guiding principles that we want people to be acting by. And to help us try and do that, we've got field marshals at the fields. They're always designated by orange armbands. They go on the game sheets. And really, it's about empowering one individual from the team to speak up on behalf of the referee. You're a supporter of the referee when you're there. And to try and manage the rest of the adults. Even me saying that sounds crazy, managing adults. But we've all been there, we've seen it, and we know what people are like. We want to make this really clear that abuse towards referees is not going to be tolerated. It's just not. Most of the referees that you are going to see in your league, and I'll talk to it in a minute, are going to be brand new referees and children. Is it okay to stand there and verbally abuse a child? There's a UN Charter of Rights of the Child that you can probably look up. There's a lot of social workers that would probably support it. There's a lot of child psychologists, etc. No, this isn't tolerable, and we're not going to tolerate it. So the key piece here is to cheer, not critique, and the expectation is you should be involved in a pre-game chat with the referees, the coaches, and the captains, which we'll discuss in a moment. Spoke about the refereeing initiative, so I'll start there. And what are we doing with our referees? Well, you're going to see referees like the one that you see on your screen. Teal shirt referees, and part of the teal shirt campaign. That campaign is to end referee abuse, not just diminish it, end it, squash it. And they will literally be on the field with those jerseys on that it says first year referee. This could be that child's or that person's very first game. When they blow the whistle to start the game, that could be the first time that they've ever done it. Expect them to make mistakes. Expect them to be poor. If we can set the bar there, rather than expecting a World Cup final level of refereeing, we should have a better culture and climate here. Because the second we hear of another referee leaving the game crying because some adult coach or parent has abused them, it will not be pretty. And I know I feel like I'm preaching and threatening right now, but this has got to stop. Okay? How do we improve them, or how are we improving them? Well, we're giving them mentorship. We're assigning them an experienced referee to work with them at their first games. 4 times in their first season, plus connecting them as well via chat, etc. We're also offering free monthly education sessions for them to come and learn and get better. And we're educating those mentors around a framework as well to provide these referees good guidance. Okay? If any of your children are looking to become referees and they're receiving kid sport funding, this is vital for you to know. They'll get all of their training, their gear, their upgrading, everything paid for through Project Ref, which is a partnership with Kidsport. They not only get a great part-time job that pays them a ton of cash, but they also learn leadership skills and communication and conflict de-escalation and decision-making skills that they're going to carry through for the rest of their life. And every single referee that I interact with outside of the field are some of the most professional, articulate, and conscientious people I've ever met in my life. So those are some qualities that I hope my kids will have, and thus refereeing can help do that. Okay? I'd be remiss as well if I didn't talk about some of our female-only initiatives, including She Can Ref and the female-only entry-level courses that we run for new referees to build their confidence and to also bring them into the beautiful game. And that's wrapped up really in the Empower Her initiative, where we've launched She Can Ref with the support from the CDSRA. We've got female-only entry-level courses, and we host a female-only Free Soccer Fridays as well. And that's going to look to increase through 2026 and building into 2027, which is a Women's World Cup year. So expect a ramp up within that. What do you do, however, if your referees don't show up? That happens. We operate at about a 99.6% coverage rate for our referees. That means they've picked up the game. But listen, they might have got a flat tire on the way. They might have turned ill at 5 p.m. They might have got lost. Whatever the deal is, if they don't show up for any reason, both teams have to agree on who's refereeing the game, and the game still gets played. You have the option of splitting the game into 2 halves, like one person does this half, one does this half. Or the best way, honestly, is to ask a parent or sibling, if they are a trained referee, to do the game for you. And then they'll put their name on the game sheet and they get paid. So ask, if you don't have a backup plan like that, maybe encourage someone to become a backup plan for you as well. But this should not happen very frequently, okay? We work exceptionally hard to make sure that we've got referees assigned for games, okay? I'm going to get into the good stuff right away, I promise. You're probably like, wait a minute, we tuned into the U10s and 11s. He's not talking about them yet. I'm going to pause there for a second and just ask Kim if there's anything in the chat.
There is not.
There is not. Excellent. Okay, cool. We keep rolling then. Thanks, Kim. Um, you noticed it mentioned in the intro video. So our cerebral palsy soccer program, Goal Getters FC, which the kids have named, and that's the badge that they've chosen. They're building their own program. It's amazing. It's a four-way partnership between CMSA, Sockability Canada, CP Kids and Families, and Sport Calgary to produce an adapted and inclusive soccer program here in Calgary. Registration's open for the summer program. We would love, if you know of any child with CP, to be coming out and playing. We've got arguably one of the two best people in the entire country in John Clubb running the technical side of the program and the on-field training, and current men's para-national team player Lucas Bruno, who's at the sessions as well, coaching within it. So these are people who understand it and live this and are passionate about developing adapted sports. So if you know of anyone, please send them our way. We would love to help involve them in the beautiful game. And one of the other massive initiatives that we've rolled out and built is the Soccer in Schools program. So we've recently had Cavalry FC join on through the Spruce Meadows Leg Up Foundation to really support and amplify the growth of soccer across the Calgary schools. So Cavalry participate in the school visits, they give player appearances, there's giveaways, promos, etc. to really enhance the student experience. And we go in and we do a week-long residency with our member clubs to do a couple of things. One, give the kids a great experience. Two, upskill the teachers so that when we leave, the soccer module in their physical education is much improved and we can help kids grow to love the game from within the schools. And three, it's really to upskill our member clubs as well in terms of interacting within the community and building up their player base. Here's the mind-blowing stats. Okay. We are going to be in, by the end of this school year, between 42 and 50 schools, impacting between 14,000 and 15,000 students and around 800-ish teachers by the end of this. Okay, that's how many we've already been in this year, and it gives you an idea of the scope and scale of where this program went. Year one, we did 9 schools. Year two is almost 50. So this is blowing up. Okay, and we're really delighted that Cavalry have joined on with us to support that. Some other extracurriculars here are around the tournaments and events that we run. So the Papa John's Victoria Cup on the May long weekend, the Cal Tire Calgary Cup, which is early July there, and then the Fall Series, which is a registration required as well event there in September. So keep these dates earmarked. We typically get some good out-of-town participation from these tournaments as well. So you do get a bit of a diverse group of players and teams that you get to play against. So earmark that. If you're thinking about tournaments, these would be some decent ones to consider for sure. Other community initiatives, and maybe some of your kids attend these. I don't know. My family attended the last Friday, and it was we called it the soccer party because it was an absolute treat to be a part of. Free Soccer Friday, presented by Service Credit Union, is a drop-in soccer opportunity that is completely unstructured. What does unstructured mean? It means there's no adults coaching. There's no adults there to screw it up. And the kids are there building their own games, doing what they want with their time. And we literally chase the adults off the field. We have adults that think that they can come in and run their team session here. No, 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 no. This is about giving the game back to the kids and opening up the doors to a class facility and allowing them to experience the game and try things in an unstructured environment. We see kids having to come outside of their comfort zone and meet new people and talk to different kids to develop their own social and life skills, communication and confidence here in this environment. And really, we try to connect the community when we're hosting these. Upcoming dates, Next 3 Fridays, we are rolling at the Maxwell Soccer Center, the Shane Holmes West Soccer Dome, and again at the Maxwell Soccer Center. You can see all of those dates. And we do try to move it throughout the city so that we do break down some of those barriers to access for kids in communities and in Calgary. Everyone here needs to be aware of the lightning and adverse weather policy. And really the key detail here is when thunder roars, go indoors. This is no longer about when you see lightning and counting the seconds, nothing like that. You hear thunder, both game is stopped, practice is stopped for a minimum of 30 minutes from that last thunderclap. So if we have a thunderclap, we start the 30-minute timer. If another thunderclap happens within 10 minutes, that 30-minute timer restarts. It's not just wait 30 minutes, it restarts from there. This is a vital, safe sport piece. Because the last thing we want is a news story that a child's been struck by lightning because of reckless adults within the game that don't understand the policies and don't understand the responsibility that they have. Okay? There's also air quality policies where essentially if it's a 7 or above, you should be looking to reschedule or delay games and practices. This is the Alberta Soccer quick overview. I would encourage you to find this policy if you're a team official or a manager on the CMSA website and make sure that you understand the process that we've put in place in terms of going to games, not going to games, etc., depending on what the air quality is and what time it is there. So we've tried to make it a little more practical and applicable here, and I would encourage you again to go and find that and to be researching that. This is often a contentious issue, and we want to make it really clear that this is about the safety of the players that are participating and us as spectators and adults as well. We also have extreme heat guidelines, okay? With obviously the summers becoming smokier and hotter, etc. Well, these are some of the guidelines here, okay? And again, this is found on our website in a formal policy, but you will see, right? Games considered to be reduced. Reschedule kickoffs at these kinds of temperatures, which it gets to. And I want to make a note too about turf fields, because if you play on artificial turf, it's actually hotter on that turf because of the material absorbing the heat. So it's coming down from above and up from the bottom. Okay, so you need to be aware of this, and you need to be looking through the CMSA website to find this. I'm sure we will send out these policies as well via email. You will have heard the Fields for Our Future campaign referenced. What that is this is our advocacy campaign to be trying to build more full-time 11-a-side pitches in both field houses and bubbles. Because the current state is that our indoor game is at capacity. We will borderline be turning players away because we just don't have the field space anymore. We're experiencing rapid growth, okay? And we're genuinely concerned because typically the data shows after World Cups, you get about a 30% participation growth afterwards. So there's bad things going to happen. This 222 games was from 2 years ago. It was closer to 500 games that were rescheduled due to smoke or rained out last year. So people say, well, yeah, this is great for the out or indoor game. No, this is a year-round facility that we're looking, and we need to make sure that we're advocating for the city to be passing the game plan proposal and making sure that that ends up in the budget cycle. So please check all of your email inboxes for the Fields for Our Future emails, but also sign up through our website and through the QR code that's about to come on your screen. What do we want? What are we advocating for? Well, it's not what do we want, it's really a what do we need. We need more soccer space for year-round play and for training facility and training spaces to be established as well. We also want to upgrade and enhance the existing infrastructure so that it brings it up to a level of safety that the modern game requires. We also want to increase collaboration with the city so that we're at the table and we have input into the design of these soccer spaces. And that we receive a proportionate access to those city-owned soccer spaces. So, you know, lacrosse, football, rugby, etc., are not utilizing those soccer fields, and that we are trying to make sure that we are prioritized there. So our ask of you is to join the movement. Be a supporter. This QR code takes you to a form. The emails are pre-populated. You literally put in your postal code and it sends it to your counselors and your ward representatives. It's the easiest 10 seconds of your life to try to make a difference, not just for the current generation, but for generations to follow. So we're asking you, please, to join in and to please be vocal in game plans adoption and in the funding requirements needed there. Someone guaranteed is thinking about the World Cup on this call. If not, all of you should be thinking about it because it is the world's biggest event. The Men's World Cup is 2026 and Canada is one of the co-hosts. What are we doing? Well, we do have events planned and we're not going to give too many details away because, well, that would be irresponsible to the press conferences that are scheduled and also some of the massive announcements that we have planned here over the coming weeks and months. What are we going to do, though, practically? Well, there will be blackout times around the Canadian national team games, okay? There will also be light scheduling on those days, but within a certain time limit, there won't be any games scheduled so that people can watch those games. So that, again, when we think about the vision, we can be elevating and uniting our community through soccer. Someone here is going to be thinking, oh, well, you know, I really want to watch the England-Croatia game, so I'm just going to reschedule my team's game that's at the same time. Sorry, we're not accepting those kinds of requests. We're just simply not going to be able to handle that kind of rescheduling volume, even with blacking out those times for the men's national team games. That's already put us under enough of a time crunch that those kinds of rescheduling requests will not be honored and won't be given. We've also given the clubs grant funding for them to be putting on events as well and activating within the community. So we're supporting our clubs to go out and continue to connect and elevate the community. And all of this is really an acknowledgement that we want to be building community through this endeavor. You'll see this beast out at all of the events that we run, and that's our community cruiser brought to us by South Center Volkswagen. We want to really thank them for sponsoring this vehicle. Without that thing, I don't think we'd be able to put on half of what we do. And it's really powering a lot of the events that we're putting on. So at those World Cup activations and at those events, you're going to see this sitting there. And please look to go and talk to South Center Volkswagen. I literally purchased an Atlas a couple of weeks ago. The thing is fantastic. This isn't a shameless plug. These people are genuinely invested in the local game here. And I believe that we need to be supporting those people who are investing in the local game. Okay. Kim, anything in the chat before I dive into the specifics?
Nope, nothing. I am answering a couple of the questions and we're good to go.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay. So the outdoor 2026 season from Papa John's with the U10 and Cal Tire with the U11s. Well, what is that framework that we spoke about earlier? That framework is the Canada Soccer Grassroots Standards. This has gotten tweaked just a little bit in the last probably about 6 months, just minor tweaks. And what we've done is we've looked at it from a CMSA lens only. So we haven't audited the clubs yet within this, but we've looked at where we are compliant, where we're not compliant, where it just isn't applicable to CMSA, and also where we might need some dispensation in terms of flexibility and working towards an action plan. Here's what our scorecard looks like. So you will see a ton of green check marks. You'll see red X's though, and I'll explain some of them. Roster sizes here, U10s and 11s. It says ideally and maximum. Well, our maximum is 20 players aligned with Alberta Soccer's rules. So technically, we're not compliant there, right? I don't think anyone has a roster size of 20 in the U10s, and if they do, there's going to be a massive problem. This, we've actually turned into a check mark. We've put the retreat line at 1/3, and that needs to actually be reflective of a check mark. So an update's needed there. These two will be check marks as of this outdoor. The goal sizes and field sizes, we're asking for dispensation. Why? Because we've invested about $150,000 in goals and asked our clubs to invest as well into a goal that's 6 feet by 10 that expands to 6 feet by 18. So it's applicable for all the age groups from U9 all the way through to U13. So it's about economies of scale at some level. You'll see here number of match days per week. You'll see here we are not compliant. And we are not compliant when we're really critical about how all of those reschedules happen and how seasons get backloaded because of the copious amounts of tournaments that for some reason that these teams need to do and want to do. So we end up not compliant. Also through rainouts, through smokeouts, through locusts, etc., that affect the schedule. We start out in a compliant space, but we end up not compliant. You'll see as well, structured practice durations aren't applicable, practice to match ratios, etc. But this gives you an idea that it should be about a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 practice to match ratio. So if your club's pressuring your children and you to be training 5, 6, 7 days a week, find a new club. It's that cut and dry. The backside, the second page, this is where we are. You'll see lots of it is not applicable to CMSA. Okay? This is predominantly coach training. So part of it is us, but it's up to the club to be making sure that they do that. Part of it's around player to coach ratios. That's a club function. Part of it's around playing time and positions. And you will see here, fair playing time for all players. Coaches should target a minimum of 50% playing time for each player. It also says behind this, players rotate positions from U6 all the way through to U13. So the next time someone wants to say, oh no, we're just going to play the starters, we're just going to play the better players right now, that's your signal that one, that coach either doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't understand long-term development, or really they can't be bothered developing your child, or their motivations aren't to develop your child and it's just to win for their own ego boost. That's the long and short of it. You'll also see here, teams cannot be formed using tryouts or other similar evaluation methods. I want you to ask yourself, did your child go through a tryout, evaluation, assessment, placement session, whatever terminology the club wants to use, to be placed in some U10 or U11 team that really means nothing at this point? It also says tiering of players is not permitted before U10. We're actively trying to not tier groups as it is. And there's lots of strategies to go about that to still have the game be meaningful and beautiful without having tiers. These are outdated concepts that people need to start moving away from. You'll see here as well around scores and standings in tournaments where we are not compliant. Well, why are we not compliant? Because everyone at these age groups love a shiny piece of plastic or shiny piece of metal at the end of a tournament. And we know that if we are an early adopter of that and we jump before the rest of the districts and tournament organizers and everyone else, the ones that still keep scores and standings will be the ones who get the registrations and the ones that parents and managers and coaches are interested in. Because for some reason, we always need a measuring stick, and I'm not 100% sure why. But alas, that's what it is. Someone's going to be thinking in their mind right now, well, we've registered for 4 tournaments or 1 tournament or whatever this summer. And we noticed that we're in the Kone or the Pepple or the Hunter group. Well, what level is that? What level of tournament? Talk to your technical staff at your club. They should be able to guide you in what levels to enter into the tournament. And if they're blowing smoke, that's a great sign to find another club, because there's plenty of them in Calgary. What does the season look like? Well, the season looks like this. the development groups will play a more regionalized playing schedule. So we try to make it as close to home as possible. Okay? They have a shorter schedule that you can see. It kicks off April 25th. It ends July 12th. And they also have 10 games. Okay? They will play in a 7v7 format, which is aligned to the Canada Soccer grassroots standards. Then there's the Dev Plus. The Dev Plus play in citywide play with a longer schedule of 14 games. You'll see that they go later into the summer with a July 26th finish. They also play 7v7. Okay? 7v7, we have a set of goal and field standards for that. So what is that? Well, the fields are 6 feet tall by 12 feet wide. And someone's going to say, why? Because the 9 and 10-year-old goalkeepers aren't that big. And so proportionately, we should scale down the goals so that they have an appropriate experience. So I would encourage you while you're out at games to be looking at the goal size and go, is that a 12-foot goal or is that an 18-foot? Is that an 8-foot goal or is that a 6-foot goal? And really be critical about that. We also have field standards, which we give to the clubs and we give to the line marking companies here in Calgary to be marking consistent fields. You'll see minimum and maximum widths and lengths. Okay? There is some variance, but key pieces like the radius of the center circle, the markings of penalty areas, the corner dimensions are all the same. And you'll also see retreat lines, which I will talk about here in a moment. Within your leagues as well, you will see initiatives like this. You will see age exemptions, which are formerly called biobanding. What this is a player placement strategy that gives late developers a chance to play in an age group and in a division that is biologically appropriate for them. Maybe not chronologically based on when they're born, but biologically based on their maturation. There is a full process. Clubs are expected to submit development plans as well if they are age exempting players and looking to then find appropriate environments for these players later. Clubs will age exempt players for a multitude of reasons. Sometimes it's social. Sometimes it's, I'm a single mom and the neighbor drives my child and that's the only way that they can get there. Well, we evaluate these things and we want to be empathetic to those situations. And really it's about trying to keep kids in the game and give them a positive sporting experience. Now, your leagues will likely have these children in them. We do not communicate who those kids are. One, because it's not appropriate, and two, because other people don't need to know. But this will happen within these leagues. We also have open rosters. And what is an open roster? Well, it's about flexible player placement. So guaranteed, here's what's happened. Your clubs have put all of your children on formal teams. That formal team has got 1 or 2 coaches, whatever it is, and that's who they work with for the rest of the year. Well, what open rosters allows us to do and allows the clubs to do is to move those players through any of the other teams in that age group freely. And people are going to say, well, clubs are just going to use it as a strategy to put better players at lower levels to then win more games. If they do, that's a massive problem. If they do, that is a signal. If you're one of the parents of those kids that's getting played down and there isn't a really logical and tangible reason for your child's development, that you should probably find a new club. That club, A, doesn't have a clue what they're doing, and B, doesn't have your child's best interest at heart. Because really this is to support non-linear development. That kids need different challenges at different times. Sometimes kids that typically play at the back can go and play in midfield, maybe within a slightly easier game to work on something. And our expectations of the clubs are that they are doing this with a player development and player experience lens in mind. So that there isn't a locked roster. so that we can help to develop kids on an individualized basis, because it's no longer just about the team. We also have to consider the individual. Because if we want to continue to support developing players like Madden, who captained our U17 national team from Calgary here, if we want to keep supporting players like Maya Jones, like Arabin Peppel, like Max Peepgrass, we need to cater to individuals and what they need. And so as a parent, it's really hard for us not to compare our child to them. But we need to stop comparing, because my child is not at the same place as my friends' kids, and vice versa. And that's okay. That's okay. All right. We talked a lot about the dev plus, the etc. Kind of pieces. I want to talk briefly about this piece. Strategies for lopsided games. So within these leagues, we've got 3 strategies if games do go lopsided, and coaches can use these whenever they like. We've got the 4-up, 1-up. So if a team is losing by 4 goals or more, they can add an extra player onto the field. No problem. No problem at all. We can also, if the game is really lopsided, just mix up the players. Bib the players off, mix the 2 teams together, and enjoy the evening together. People are going to say, well, how do the kids know who to play with and this and that? Well, isn't that another skill that they could learn? To communicate with people that they've never met before, to step outside of their comfort zone, to challenge themselves, to learn something from a player that they're now playing beside rather than playing against. And lastly, the other strategy is around swapping goalkeepers. And swapping goalkeepers would be if one goalkeeper is taking all the shots and the other one is just distributing the ball, well, can we just swap them? So that we can have a more global lens on trying to develop goalkeepers here in this city, rather than that kid's a goalkeeper and he plays in the best U10 team. So what's going to happen with his shot stopping ability over time? It's probably going to go down, right? So we want to make sure that we're trying to support the development of those kids as well. We want to be really clear about what Dev Plus is, because the clubs misinterpret this all the time, and this is a massive piece. Dev Plus is for really kids who love soccer, who want a more full-time program, and who maybe want more structured soccer contacts per week. It says nothing about ability. And I want to be really, really clear. This is not about ability. So if they've been tiered, if they've gone through tryouts and your club said, oh, you're in Dev Plus, you're in Dev because you're just not as good. No. This is about access. This is about access to quality coaching, to quality environments, to continued development. And if I love soccer and I'm a 9-year-old kid and I'm brand new to it, why shouldn't I have access to quality coaching and quality environments? Why am I a lesser human? So key questions you need to ask. Developmental or dev, maybe these kids love a variety of activities. They like to go camping in the summer, they take on music or other sports or whatever, and they're looking for a more part-time program with less activities per week. Dev would be a great spot for them, regardless of ability. Okay? We can have very talented, early developing, developmentally advanced, whatever words we want to use, those kids in dev teams. Because you know what? Maybe they're only here half the summer and they like to play with their friends who are on that team. That's okay. In fact, that is highly encouraged. And again, you're probably getting a flavor that things are not like the game that you're going to see on the TV. It's deliberate like that. And with that is the modified laws of the game. Okay? You'll see pass-ins and dribble-ins rather than throw-ins. You'll see indirect free kicks because we believe that there's a trade-off between player safety and ball striking ability. So it might be a direct free kick by the laws of the game, but all free kicks will be indirect except penalties. Why? Because we don't want kids just smashing a ball into a wall of kids. It's about safety as well. So we've made that decision. We talk about penalty kicks, retreat lines, which we'll go through, and there's no offsides in the 7v7 game. Okay? It's more unstructured than it is formal and structured. Okay? So what is the retreat line? Well, the retreat line is this. We know that the game continues to evolve, and we've got to prepare players for the future game. Okay, these young kids are going to prepare for not today's game, but the game in 10 years from now. And likely, future styles of the game could revolve around maintaining possession of the ball with coordinated build-up from the goalkeeper. You see that a lot right now, and you're likely going to continue seeing that. All of these players are going to be required to make appropriate decisions from numerous cues going on in the match and be able to maintain possession through the thirds of the field while under consistent pressure. The game is getting faster. The game is getting more technically and tactically advanced than it ever has. And these players will have to make decisions and better decisions in a quicker manner. And so what we've done is we've analyzed things before we implemented this, and we built this as well with the clubs and in alignment with those grassroots standards. So we use this model a lot, and it's the psychosocial model that Dan Abrahams has kind of preached, if you will. Typically within athlete development or soccer player development, we talk about 4 corners: tech, tact, physical, social, emotional, mental. And usually coaches treat them as individual. Well, we're choosing to look at it in a different manner, where if we get the mental and social and emotional climate right, it's going to fuel technical and tactical and physical outcomes and fuel those corners. But we know that that's all influenced based on the culture upon which the game exists. And we also know that participation leads to progression, which leads to performance. So when we marry all of this together, this is part of the reasons why a retreat line is a good thing. Okay? I'll give you a second to read through that quickly and look to dive in on a couple of things. We talk about improved decision making, right? We talk about improved risk assessment skills, awareness, self-confidence, team play and cooperation, and also the ability to learn different roles. In a developing age like this is very important. Okay? We also talk about the ABCs: balance, coordination, agility, right? We talk about technically improving short passes, the ability to rotate our hips, to find penetrating passes. These are vital skills. Okay? The research as well supports it. Okay? So you'll see here, when the retreat line is not used, possession sequences end up in less than 3 passes. So how are we preparing players for the future game if we're not using the retreat line? And in the 11-a-side context, there is a retreat line built in. The penalty area in the 18-yard box, players are not allowed in there. That's actually technically a retreat line as well. In the World Cup, in the NSL, in top-level games. Okay, they technically have a retreat line. Right, you'll see here, the outcome if the first pass is long from the retreat line, 84% resulted in less than 3 passes. So if we're just lumping it long, we're not getting those passing sequences, right? But if the first pass is short, look at that. We get better sequences of passes. Okay? New Zealand implemented this and asked a qualitative and quantitative, or did a qualitative and quantitative analysis on this as well. Okay? Look at this. Only 20% of long kicks resulted in controlled possession. There's a 52% increase in controlled possession in midfield when we play out of the back. That's a good thing. And increase in playing out of the back from 23% to 76% when the retreat line's used. Again, that's a good thing. especially in these developing ages. Teams can more likely regain defensive positions when a retreat line's used. So they can work on defensive tactics, on defensive strategies when it's used. That's a good thing. And then in terms of feedback, right? Overall, very positive feedback from players and coaches. So what is it? Well, here's how it functions, okay? It functions like this. The retreat line is located 18 meters from the goal line, okay? In previous seasons, it was at the halfway line. Well, we've modified it to align to Canada Soccer's grassroots standards and to ensure that we are following that. So it's really at pretty much the 1/3 mark of the field, okay? In practicality, this should be marked with line marking paint. So you should see a dashed line or some sort of line that's going to denote the retreat line. If that's not there, you'll see coaches put cones out on the sideline at 18 meters. Referees will check this as well to ensure it's in the right place. Okay? It's in effect in two situations, a goal kick and a free kick to the defending team inside the penalty area. So this is what it looks like. A goal kick, ball leaves the goal area and the playing surface, okay? Works like this. Apologies that it's in green and it's tough to see, but you can see the cones there, okay? Referees will position themselves on that retreat line, and all of this red team must be behind it before the game can restart. Now, in previous iterations of the modified laws, it was that the ball had to be touched by another teammate or leave the penalty area. No longer. As long as the ball is kicked or clearly moves, the red team then can look to leave that retreat line and look to go and try and win the ball back. Okay? If a teammate goes to receive short inside the goal area, no problem. Again, they back up behind the retreat line, they can look to receive short, and then they look to go and press and try and win the ball back. Or they look to sit and deny space, whatever the team's tactics are. If there's a free kick to the defending team inside their penalty area, so a foul on the red team here, referee has blown their whistle. Again, they will get back behind the retreat line and play can look to resume. You'll see there that if the blue team wants to play longer, they can. That's no problem at all. And we'll work through what that looks like here in a moment. There are other options, of course, for goal kicks, right? So again, there's no offsides, not advocating for players to go and stand there and quote unquote cherry pick. But if we're trying to get better decision makers, this goalkeeper needs to see this player. And when it's on, looks to play it. Okay, so they can play direct, no problem. Okay, all good. That option's not taken away. You'll see the pictures change now. The team has become smarter. They've looked to bring players back in and around the ball to decrease the likelihood that that goalkeeper is going to play long. So as a parent, if you're hearing your coaches say, kick it long, boot it, dump it, and it's not on, you got to ask some serious questions of that coach and of the club, because that coach is not getting good information from their club. So on this, the expectation would probably be to play short because it's not on to play long. Okay? Then play resumes. All right? An infraction looks like this. Okay? And you probably all understand what the infraction looks like. The retreat line is outlined here. Okay? The team has not fallen behind the retreat line, so this player is still above it. If play wants to try to resume, if there is a second official, great, they will put their hand up. Likely there will not be. There will be one official per game. The referee will blow their whistle and instruct that player to come back. Okay? They will move back behind the line, and then we'll look to resume play. All right. Last piece is here, I promise. Thank you for going the distance with us right now. Last piece is around the pass in and dribble in. Okay? The intention here is to have play restarted quickly while players are making soccer decisions based on the cues presented. Okay? We want players to be refining their technique and their fundamental actions to the game that's crucial for their development. The pass in and dribble in is not, and I want to be really clear about this, an opportunity for coaches to just have set piece opportunities and kick the ball aimlessly down the field, trying to take advantage of young children's lack of willingness to head a ball and hoping that it'll go in based on some sort of ridiculous mistake. We know and we've seen lots of coaches just lumping the ball down the field. Again, if your child is in one of these environments, find a new environment, because that coach doesn't have a clue. And I'm sorry to be that harsh, but that is the reality. We've gone through iterations and suggestions with the clubs on how to refine the rules, but we're not even there from a philosophical standpoint and aligned with people, because culturally, for some reason, the adults put so much value on winning, and so much of their ego is tied to winning that it just becomes this ugly game. So we contemplated putting in pieces where the ball has to stay on the ground on a pass in. Well, then we're eliminating that player's decision-making ability. We're eliminating that player's ball striking capability. We toyed around with the idea that they can only pass it in a certain distance. Well, again, you're limiting that player's decision-making ability and technical ability. We toyed around with the ball can't enter the opponent's penalty area. We don't want to make any knee-jerk reactions and changes. We want to focus on educating and changing philosophy. And listen, there's always going to be those people who can't get on side with that and continue to do things in a counter-developmental way. Well, then we'll have to adjust. And we'll get there eventually. So what is the pass-in? Well, the pass-in would be like a throw-in. So ball's gone over the touchline. Okay, the whole of the ball has crossed it, either on the ground or in the air, and it's passed into a teammate. You'll notice it wasn't just lumped into the box or lumped forward. Who's open? How can we restart play quickly? The ball has to be stationary on the touchline, okay? And we do want to give a bit of a countdown for the player. So the referee will count down and then look to get play restarted as quickly as we can. Okay? Goals cannot, well, we'll get there. If there's a goal from the pass-in, okay, so ball struck straight into the goal. Nope. That's going to get brought back, okay? And the restart is actually going to be a goal kick, because what it is it's an indirect restart as a dribble in and pass in, the same way as a throw in. Okay? You cannot score a goal directly from a throw in. So it's the same way there. So you're just giving up possession to the other team. Everyone gets behind the retreat line and away we go. The dribble in looks like this. Players are able to dribble the ball into the field in whatever direction they want. Okay? Minimum of 2 touches constitutes a dribble, right? 1 touch can be a pass. So players have options. If no one's on to pass, then they can just dribble the ball in and restart play. If they're a good dribbler, why don't they dribble the ball in and restart play? Okay, again, any direction within the field. If an opponent is too close, you will see referees come over and look to back up that opponent to 3 meters away. Okay? This would be if there was a second official, typically an indoor, but usually you'll see this official come over and back this player away. Okay? Then play could be restarted in the appropriate manner. All right? Last bits. We constantly get asked, where does all the money go? Okay, where does the money go? We pay ridiculous and high fees and it's so expensive and this and that. I'm not disagreeing with you. I want to be really clear about that. CMSA hasn't raised any of the player fees for 2 years. So we haven't increased any player fee in 2 years, and we continue to build out more programs and become more efficient. So I'd ask, what's your club doing? Here is our fee that we collect per player. So it's $148 or $168 depending on Dev or Dev Plus. Okay? From that, Alberta Soccer takes $10 a player. That's their fee from a per player basis. Okay? What does that boil down to? Well, it leaves us, if you're doing the math, 168. Apologies, I didn't copy and paste this appropriately. This should be 138 and this should be 158. So apologies for the typos. But this is what it boils down to per match day. Okay, so 10 matches, that's what it is. 14 matches, that's what it costs for the devs and dev pluses. Okay? How does this break down? Well, the player fees get broken down like this, okay? League costs. The majority of your CMSA fees go towards booking fields for games and paying referees and other league-related expenses. Again, I said refereeing was a very good part-time job for kids. You'll see why. There's also a small portion that goes to help fund future facilities or renovations and upgrades to current facilities. Okay, so notably the Shane Holmes West Soccer Dome renovation to an 11-a-side FIFA Pro quality turf field, and erecting this Shouldice bubble with Calgary Football and Calgary Blizzard and contributing to that project. A portion of the fees goes toward Kids Sports Player Assistance Program to help keep sport accessible. And Kids Sport donate almost $1 million in soccer fees every single year into Calgary. So we want to make sure that we're trying to keep that viable. And while we do it on a very small basis, every single bit helps. Alberta and Soccer obviously take some of that fee. That's part of that fee that I talked about. And then a small portion helps to pay for the CMSA staff to ensure that Calgary Soccer is run as efficiently as we can and continues to try and innovate and improve. Okay, so there is an administrative piece to that CMSA fee. Your club fee is obviously not the CMSA fee because the club has costs as well. Okay? This is going to happen. Someone's going to get hurt. Their child is going to get hurt. What do you need to do? Well, you need to go to a doctor. You need to get a diagnosis and make sure that it's formally written down. Then what you do is you fill out the form on Alberta Soccer's website within the first 30 days of injury. Why? Because that's how you access their insurance. Okay? If you have personal insurance to cover things like physio or braces or etc. Braces not for your teeth, knee braces, whatever else. You use your personal insurance first. Then the Alberta Soccer insurance kicks in after that personal money has ran out. Okay? We know that these physio and rehab expenses can add up incredibly quickly and exhaust that personal insurance fast. So make sure you fill out these forms within that 30 days. Okay? I will leave you with this, and I'll jump into some questions here at the end if there are still some, and happy to stick around for a little while. Really, it starts now, and it starts on Saturday. A beautiful new season on the eve of a home FIFA Men's World Cup. It cannot be a better time in the game in Canada and in Calgary than right now. So it all starts now.
All right.
And so on that, I want to say thank you and acknowledge that you could have been anywhere in the world doing anything tonight, and you've chosen to be here with us. So thank you very much for being curious. And I leave you with this image on the left-hand side where we are really able to pull the game forward if we operate on the right-hand side of that image as opposed to the left-hand side, where we used to have clubs all pulling in different random directions, and we're really getting unity and we're getting people on a similar page now, which is unbelievable. And we've got a tremendous opportunity here in Calgary to make this the hotspot for not only development, but community and football culture here in Canada. So from us to you. If you want to contact us and you need to contact us, all of our details are there on the screen. I want to say thank you again to our sponsors of these two age groups, Papa John's and Cal Tire. And please give us a follow along these social media platforms. Okay, we share a lot of information and resources and such along those platforms. So please give us a follow, interact, ask questions. We're more than happy to interact across those. So I am going to say, there we go. I'm going to hop into the chat if there is anything there. Thanks, Kim, so much for all of the work that you've done tonight. Appreciate you linking all of the documents and linking all of the information in there as well to answer all of those questions. So if there are other questions, please fire away. More than happy to answer them here, and looking forward to seeing you on the pitch. Question here.
Just a reminder that
Kim?
we do, if any of you are team managers and have questions about that, I am running a team managers meeting where I go through how to print game sheets, what do I do if I'm an eligible player, all that sort of stuff. I do have that tomorrow night and Thursday night as well. So I'll put the link in the chat for those as well, if that's something you're interested in. And there was one question, Jordan, I sort of tried to answer it. Kevin asked about a goal from dribbling count. I think I got it, but if you want to confirm, it was close to the bottom.
Yeah, totally. I see it there. Does a goal from a dribbling count if the shot is taken from the same player and doesn't touch anyone else? No, as an indirect restart, it has to touch another player before going in the goal. What I would ask is that if and when this happens, again, I talk about young referees that are operating in a modified set of laws. They could screw this up and could make mistakes. Okay, be patient, be empathetic, be kind. So there's going to be mistakes with that, right? So no, it does have to touch another player before it crosses the goal line there. Kim, there's a question here in terms of the process if they need a call-up player to fill in a spot. Do you maybe want to tackle that?
Yeah, so if you're in a roster that does need a call up, you can also reach out to your club. They may have a list of players that would be good to go, but all you need to do is they have to be currently rostered on another team. There are call up rules, but because 10s and 11s and 12s are open rosters, if they are, you would just have to write the player's name on the game sheet.
Perfect. Perfect. And there's another question there around a goal from kickoff. I'm just looking that up right now. Listen, there's so much of so much. What I would do is I would look to link in and read through the modified laws of the game to get the clarity there. Shot from kickoff count as a goal. I cannot remember, but if you shoot us an email, I will get you back that answer here later, or look to research a little bit through the U10 and 11 modified laws of the game.
I posted those above as well.
Yeah, exactly. That Kim is linked. Are there opportunities to volunteer and help out at CMSA? We rarely, I would say, get that offer. So. Kim, I think we should take down some contact info here and make sure that we follow up, because that would be amazing.
Send me an email. I'll post my email in the chat. Absolutely. We're always looking also for part-time staff. If anyone is interested in that, like grassroots, we will always need it. Tournaments we are, but definitely helping out, especially maybe with the World Cup events coming up. Our staff that are running those may also be looking for volunteers for those. So definitely shoot me an email. I'll put you in touch with the right proper people. But that's amazing.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Very generous offer. So you can't say no to those kinds of offers there. There might be some people furiously typing away, so I'll stick around for a few minutes. Um, oh, I need to maybe start saying like volunteer opportunities. I'll incorporate that into the rest of them. This is great. Everyone else is shaking their head. They're like, no chance. I have no time to volunteer. Um, so I totally get it. But yeah, we covered a lot of ground tonight. And like I say, I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who popped in, who was curious, who's asked great questions, because I'm scrolling through the chat and there are phenomenal questions in there. And really appreciate the candor here tonight. Yeah, and thank you so much for the positive comments. If there's critical ones as well, more than happy to hear those. This is not an ego play from me, and I'm more than happy to hear the other side of the coin and just try and make things better. So, no problem. Kim, jot down these emails. This is great.
I am copying them over. Yes, for
Yes,
sure.
yes, that's unbelievable. Okay. If we've got no more questions, we will end it tonight. If anything pops up, usually the best way is to communicate your club first. If they don't have answers, if they don't have direction for you, come to us next. Sometimes when you email us, we'll say, hey, have you chatted with your club about this? So we do try to respect the communication kind of channels. But if you've got pointed questions for CMSA, again, all of the what am I trying to stumble on? All of the contact details are here on your screen now, so please reach out and shoot us a message. Please keep in mind, this time of year is incredibly busy, okay? So please give us a little bit of grace, probably allow 24 hours for an email response, and we will look to get back to you, okay? But on behalf of CMSA, on behalf of all of the clubs involved and everyone else, the referees, the coaches, everyone, thank you so much. And we will look forward to seeing you both on the pitch this summer, at the World Cup activations that we're going to be having, and at many other tournaments and events that we will be hosting. So all the best and the best of luck to you and your teams for this upcoming season. We will see you on the pitch, and have a great night.